Hello, welcome back. Okay, quite a bit to get through here. We're going to look at the three muscle types and we're going to focus mainly on this bottom one called the skeletal muscle. So we've got smooth, cardiac, skeletal. Smooth is what you'd find in your digestive tract, so your esophagus, small intestine, and it's undergoing contractions like peristalsis, and it's involuntary. So we have no control over it. It does it without our thinking. Same with cardiac. That's the muscle found in our heart. And then the one that we'll focus on mainly is skeletal muscle, which is voluntary. We have conscious control over whether we decide to move our bicep or not. And in terms of how they appear, there's two big differences. There's either non-striated, which means it's not stripy. That's why it's called smooth. And then cardiac and skeletal are both said to be striated. And this is what the striations look like. This dark and light band you're seeing here is what those striations are. Right, so I said we'll focus on skeletal and how it's made up. So in order for me to describe the different parts to skeletal muscle and why it looks the way it does, we have to discuss actin, myosin, myofibrils, sarcolemma, sarcomere, and T-tubules. All right, let's have a look at a muscle. So muscle is connected to bone via a connective tissue called tendon, and it's quite a big tissue there. And within that muscle, there's a fascicle, and within that fascicle, there are these long cylindrical looking features called muscle fiber. So our muscle is made up of a load of muscle fibers all stacked together. And what can be a bit confusing here is that muscle fiber is also known as a muscle cell. So muscle cells are really, really big. And the reason why they're so big is actually because as we formed as a fetus, all of the individual muscle cells have all fused together to make one big muscle fiber. Okay, so if we look at a muscle fiber, and so this whole thing you're seeing here is one muscle fiber. So if we zoom in now, this you can see this muscle fiber. Within it, we're seeing these cylinders, and those cylinders are called myofibrils. All right, so you've got one myofibril here, you've got another one here, another one, another one. It's like a bunch of pencils all held together. And those myofibrils are running the whole length of the muscle fiber, and the muscle fiber is running the whole length of the actual muscle itself. So you can see that all of these myofibrils, there's a myofibril, they've all been stacked together and they're all enclosed in a membrane, because it's a cell, a membrane, and this membrane is called a sarcolemma. And like all cells have got cytoplasm. This is a specific to muscle cell. We don't call it cytoplasm, we call it sarcoplasm. Something called sarcoplasm. So that's muscle cytoplasm. All right, we'll come back to this in a bit, actually. In fact, I'll move this out of the way because I want to talk about something later on. Okay. So this is a muscle fiber, and a muscle fiber is one big muscle cell because it's lots of muscle cells have all fused together to make one big cell. So if you look here, this is one section of a muscle fiber, and within that we can see there's a little blue mark here. This is the nucleus. 2, 3, 4. Muscle fibers have many nuclei in them. They're multinuclei. We could say a muscle cell is multinuclei because, remember, it's lots of individual muscle cells with their own individual nucleus all working together to make one big cell. You can see there's here and here two clear purple rows happening. These are the myofibrils, which are held within the muscle fiber. So there's one myofibril there. There's another one. So like a big stack of pencils. Right. So these myofibrils, these are the organelles of the muscle fiber, and these are the functional units of it. These are the parts that make the muscle get shorter and longer when we're contracting and relaxing. So these myofibrils are made up of two types of myofilament called actin and myosin. And these myofibrils, like I said, they're really long, but they're actually the same structure repeating itself over and over again. So if you look from this blue line here to this blue line here, this is representing one very small section to a myofibril, and we call it a sarcomere. So we could say then that a myofibril is lots of sarcomeres stuck together. So if that was a sarcomere, little cylinder, and we stick another one on top, another one on top, we're making a myofibril. It's the same functional parts. There's a sarcomere, there's sarcomere. It's the same thing over again, and they've all been stitched together to make it one big long myofibril. So we need to focus on one part to the myofibril, this sarcomere. If you understand, or you can describe the different parts to one sarcomere, then you're going to be talking about the same thing over and over again as you move along the myofibril. All right, so let's build a myofibril. Let's do that now. So we've got, okay, this is one sarcomere. So that's a sarcomere. Oops, not sarcomere, sarcomere. And that sarcomere has these dark, thick lines in the middle. We call that the dark band. And where we don't have the dark, thick filaments here, we call it the light band. So we'll have a go do that in a second. So if we go back again, the two proteins that make up a sarcomere are actin and myosin. And actin is the thin filaments, myosin is thick. So now we can label this as well. So this here is the thick bit, so that's myosin. And this little thin bit here is actin. All right, so let's start putting them together. So I'm going to put another sarcomere here. We're starting to build a myofibril, because a myofibril is lots of sarcomeres stuck together. All right, let's make it nice and neat. All right, let's label this again. I'll do a different color this time. So I started talking about this dark band. So the dark band is where there's a bit of a crossover. You can see where there's the myosin and the actin are both together. That's the dark band. And the light band is the bit that isn't containing the myosin. So that's the light band. Okay. Now, where the sarcomeres join, they always, if you look here with what happened a second ago, you can see that there's a connection happening down here. So they're actually joined together. So the two actins from the different sarcomeres are joined together. So just have to be aware there's this line happening down here where the sarcomeres are joining. We call that the Z line. So let's put some more sarcomeres together. There's another one. So that would be another Z line there as well. Let's do some more. So I'm building one big myofibril. And a myofibril is just one of those pencils making up the muscle fiber. There we go. So this will be as long as the muscle fiber itself. So let's do that. There we go. So we've got these dark, thicker ones here. These are the thick myofilaments called myosin, and the thinner parts are called actin. And remember, those actins from the neighbouring sarcomeres are joined together, and we're calling this line the Z line. So, just being aware of those different regions, we've got the Z line. We've got the part where there's only actin, we call that the light band. The part where we have myosin and a bit of the actin if they cross over, we call it dark band. There's one other region to be aware of as well. It's the region where there's just myosin. So you see that bit there. We're just including this bit down here. And we call this the H band. Just double check actually, is it H band? Can't find it now. I'm pretty sure it's H band. It's either H band or H zone. All right. So that's the different parts now. So what we've been doing there, we've been building one of these here. Let's change the colour. We've been building one of these myofibrils because we've been putting them together, the sarcomeres. So that's what I've just been building a second ago. So you can see here now, if I zoom in. No, it's not letting me zoom in. Okay. That blue line there to that blue line, that's representing one sarcomere. So those blue lines are actually your Z lines that we did before. So we're stacking them together. So this red section is the middle of our myosin. So that's representing part of the H band. Okay, so what you should try doing is practice drawing a sarcomere. So practicing one of these here. Are you able to draw the myosin in the middle with the actin on the outer parts? There's a little bit of a crossover. Are you able to label where the Z line is? Are you able to label the H band? Where's the myosin? Where's the actin? Where's the dark band? And where's the light band? So just practicing doing that. All right. So there's our keywords. The myofilaments are actin and myosin. These are the things, if you put them together, you're making a sarcomere. Here's our sarcomere there. And stacking lots of sarcomeres together will make a myofibril. And myofibrils are the organelles that make up one muscle fiber. So there's all of our myofibrils, our little pencils, all put together in a big bunch. All right. See you later.